Hi, my name is Antonino Caridi. I'm actually the chairman of the Cdkl5 Alliance. The Alliance is an organization that take under its umbrella all the National Family Association. And I'm very glad today to host Mr. Dan Lavery, that is the chief scientific officer of the Lulu Foundation, and a very good friend of mine, by the way. I would like just to make some remark before to leave the floor to Dan. Tonight we are going to talk about the Cdkl5 International Registry. As you may know, the Alliance is working to make our international community clinical trial ready. This year, despite the COVID pandemic, we've been working as Alliance, and we create a guide for each National Family Association to find hospital and clinics available for hosting CDD trials. And then we update also the list, the international list of hospital and clinics ready to host the CDD trials. Those are two documents available at the Cdkl5 Alliance. But I'm convinced that one of the essential part of this is the international registry. The Cdkl5 Registry to organize and connect the community and to collect more information to help us learn more about CDD. By working together, the families, the researchers, and the industry partners, we can build a modern registry to collect data from the patients' families and at the same time allow the families to learn about potential clinical studies like gene therapies trials. We have to be proud of our CDD initiative about the registry because bear in mind that we are one of the few rare disease organization that is building an international registry. This is something that we have to be proud of. We have already some data collected in different database, but definitely being part of the international registry would be really a great achievement for such a small organization as Cdkl5. So this is something that, again, that we have to be proud of because we are just one of the few with such an organization. Then, and that is what we would like to learn about today with Dan Lavery, who is helping up the Cdkl5 registry effort for the Lulu Foundation. So I would like to leave the floor to Dan to enter in a presentation that will make clear enough why we should run for that.
Great. Thank you so much, Antonino. It's a real pleasure to be with you as always, but in particular here to be able to share with you and with all the families in the Cdkl5 Alliance around the world what we've been doing for the last 3 years to do exactly what you said, help our community become more organized and to become more trial ready by building a modern patient registry for the CDD community. And very importantly, we've built it with families by working with families from around the world, giving us input on how to make it better, building it for families so that they will be able to use it to contribute to what we know about the disorder and to be engaged and to learn about potential opportunities that they can participate in clinical trials. So just to indicate where you can find us, it's very straightforward. All you have to do is go to www.cdkl5registry.org. You can learn all about the registry there, as well as actually register from that website. And we'll come to that in a little bit later. But just to provide a little bit of background, why we've been working as we have for the last 3 years, the Lulu Foundation, collaborating with the Orphan Disease Center at the University of Pennsylvania in the US, along with a company called Pulse InfoFrame, to build this patient registry. What is a patient registry and why is it important to the CDD community? A patient registry is simply any system that exists in order to collect, organize, and then use patient data from the patient, him or herself, or from the patient's loved one, mom or dad, or other family member. And then what's important is how that information then becomes available to the community and to industry and to the scientific community to help advance research and to help unify the community. The Cdkl5 registry was built with those two key points in mind. It's built to help CDD drug development by collecting important data that we generate over time from you, the moms and dads of the Cdkl5 patients. And then second is that we can inform you of CDD clinical studies which you might want to participate. You're not obliged to. If you're a member of the registry, you don't have to participate in any clinical trials at all. But we can inform you of the opportunities to participate in them if you so choose. And very importantly, all the data that are provided by you about your child to the Cdkl5 registry, all these data are protected in full compliance with privacy regulations such as in Europe, the GDPR, very strict regulations regarding patient privacy, and are fully regulated by an ethics committee, what we call in the US an Institutional Review Board, or IRB, meaning that any of the data that you share are carefully regulated both for privacy and ethical considerations. Privacy regulations administered by GDPR include things like the right to be forgotten, so that if you leave a study, if you decide not to participate in registry, you can actually have those data removed from the registry. Everything within Cdkl5 registry is fully compliant, both with these privacy regulations as they apply, as well as with the relevant ethics committee and institutional review board oversight. That should give you confidence that what we're doing is appropriate, both from a data safety and a medical ethics point of view. So what does the Cdkl5 registry do? How do we actually collect the data? At this point now, what we've done is we've created a registry that allows moms and dads to enter data directly about your child, whether it be demographic data, data about their seizures, any and all of their symptoms, what medications they're on, etc. These data are entered regularly over time, so we get a good view of how your child is progressing over time. And all these data are entered directly through a web-based portal that has a dashboard for you to use so that it makes it more straightforward and clear how the data have to be collected. We're working very hard now with other groups, including the Italian group Insieme Verso la Cura, who have their own clinical registry, in order to, in the near future, be able to link up data with the family's permission to allow the data that are being collected by Insieme Verso la Cura, import it into the Cdkl5 registry to align it directly with the patient data. And that way we're able to make the data much, much more powerful by having both family reported and clinical data together. But for the moment, all we're doing is collecting the data that you enter as a mom or dad about your child. In order to create a modern patient registry, the Lulu Foundation and the Orphan Disease Center have collaborated with a group called Pulse InfoFrame to build a fully modern, robust, regulatory compliant patient registry that we call the Cdkl5 registry. Importantly, it collects data from families and from clinicians. The data are collected over time in a secure way. The data are then stored in a cloud-based structure, fully privacy compliant, fully regulatory compliant, and these data can then be useful for clinical data, as clinical data to be used in studies in the future. For instance, the Cdkl5 registry could evolve into a natural history study. And then lastly, Families who join the Cdkl5 registry are fully consented through the informed consent form to be informed about any opportunities of Cdkl5 clinical studies that might take place. This is also, of course, reviewed by your ethics committee and institutional review board, but it allows families the opportunity, if they choose, to participate in clinical studies for which their child might be eligible. We think that this is a great way for our community to stay involved, to stay informed without worrying about what's the best way for me to find out that my child about a clinical trial that my child might be eligible for. Having it all in one place within the Cdkl5 registry actually makes that much, much more straightforward and clear. So why would families want to join the Cdkl5 registry? Well, there are really three reasons. The first is that it can help contribute to our understanding of Cdkl5 deficiency disorder. As you all well know, Cdkl5 deficiency disorder is a relatively newly described disorder. It only recently has been described as something separate from Rett syndrome or other diagnosed epilepsies. Therefore, there's a lot that we don't yet know about the course of Cdkl5, how symptoms can vary between the patients, and how those symptoms can change over time. Therefore, being able to collect real-world data reported by moms and dads of their kids over time will help us understand better the course of Cdkl5 deficiency disorder and will help us design better clinical studies to really bring important new therapeutics to our families. So that's the first reason, to be able to contribute to understanding of CDD. But the second reason is what I mentioned before, that the Cdkl5 registry provides a means to inform you of any clinical studies that might be going on for which your child might be eligible. You're not obliged to participate. You don't have to, you can opt in to participate. You don't have to participate if you do not want to. But as I mentioned before, having in one place a single source of information to let you know about what clinical studies or clinical trials might be available for your participation, we think that that's a great thing for all of our families. And then finally, the Cdkl5 registry provides you, as a mom and dad entering data about your child, the opportunity to be able to view your child's data in relation to the rest of the CDD community. We refer to this here on this slide with just some data that we've taken from the Pulse InfoFrame platform and some other data that we've mocked up to give you an example of what we're talking about. Once the platform is up and running and we've collected enough data, you'll be able to view how your child is doing in relation to other CDD patients in the database, whether that be for seizure frequency, the length of seizures. Any of the data that we're collecting will be able to be visualized and allow you to see, how is my child doing compared to other children in the same age range. We think this is a great way for us to be able to give back to the families who will be taking so much time to share their data with us, that we think that it's a great thing that we can then present back to them some idea of where how their child is doing in relation to seizures, sleep disruption, anything along those lines. This will be available then in a convenient dashboard for you to be able to view anytime you want. So those are the three reasons we think are the most important for why the community should participate in the Cdkl5 registry. As I mentioned, if you're interested in participating, you just need to go to www.cdkl5registry.org, and you'll see all the information there that you need in order to inform yourself and decide if you want to be able to register for the registry. When you go to that website, this is what you see on the splash page. You can see that there are different tabs for information about the registry. In fact, there's even a contact button so that if you have any questions, you can reach out to us directly. Questions about anything about the registry, about eligibility, about how often the questionnaires are asked, feel free to contact us. We're happy to answer any questions. But most importantly, on this page, you'll see the green button, Register Now, where if you click on that button, that will then take you to the actual Pulse InfoFrame Cdkl5 registry itself. And once you're there, you then have the opportunity to, if you haven't done so already, you can create a new account in order to enroll within the registry. And that includes the ability to provide informed consent through reading and then signing in an electronic form, the informed consent form that allows you to participate in the study. Then once you do that, once you've been fully enrolled in the registry and you've completed the informed consent form, you'll find yourself on a dashboard that has a list of a good number of questionnaires. Don't be overwhelmed. It looks like it's a lot, but in fact, not all the forms have to be filled out right away. Some have to be filled out on a regular basis, but take your time. You can click on any one of them and start them. You can save it and come back to it later. You don't have to fill them all out on the first day that you enroll in the registry. But we hope that what we've done is created a set of questions that will be rather straightforward for you to answer, that won't take too much time, and will allow you to really give us valuable information about your child's disorder, and will help strengthen the knowledge for the whole community. We worked very hard over the last 3 years on the Cdkl5 registry, getting input from all sorts of different folks, moms and dads from around the world, epidemiologists who are experienced in asking questions of families about Cdkl5, working with industry as well. And we really believe that the Cdkl5 registry has been designed and even improved with our families in mind. First and foremost in this is that in working together with the whole community, our view has always been to minimize the burden on our families. We know that families living with CDD have a lot of things, a lot of demands on their time already. They don't need something else that's yet again just taking a huge amount of time and effort. So we've worked to streamline the process to make it as reasonable as we can, to be able to collect a large amount of good quality data, but to do it in a way that's not too overwhelming for the families. Likewise, we have a process where we'll constantly be asking for feedback. If there are any questions or any particular topics that the family members find don't seem to make sense, they're not clear, they're too difficult to answer, we're looking for that feedback on a regular basis. Every 6 months or so, we'll be putting out a questionnaire to see what are the things that we should be improving. And this way, we hope to constantly improve the registry, making it more user-friendly for all of our families to use. To this point, we have almost 100 families enrolled and entering data. We are looking forward to expanding that. And so that is why we're hoping to engage with the entire Cdkl5 community worldwide in order to have it be a truly international registry. As you well know, there have been for over 8 years now, a very strong effort led by Dr. Helen Leonard and Dr. Jenny Downs in Australia to collect data from our families. We know that they have over 500 families already providing information to Helen and to Jenny. We want to emphasize that the work that Helen and Jenny is going to continue, but they're collaborating with us on the Cdkl5 registry to be sure that the data that we're asking is sufficient for what they want to study, and that they will not be asking it won't be asking the same questions that we're asking of the families. So there won't be any duplication of questions between the two groups, and all the data that we collect we'll be sharing directly with Helen and Jenny as long as the parents consent, so that their work can still continue. All this was done in a way that we can minimize the burden on the families and enable Helen and her team to continue the good quality work that they're doing. And very importantly, because the Cdkl5 deficiency disorder is a worldwide disorder, it's very important for us to move into many languages in order to connect with as many families as we can. And because of this, we have committed to expand the Cdkl5 registry into multiple languages. We have 8 languages that are scheduled to be rolled out. We are already in beta testing for these, but we're going to actually look for some help from our families around the world to help validate the translations that we're generating. Our first pass will be to generate translations in French, German, Italian, and Spanish. So we're actively looking for any volunteers who can help validate the translations that we're making and make sure that the questions we're asking, that we think we're asking, are the appropriate ones in the native language of the families who will be participating in the registry. And what we'd like to do is, if there are any families out there who would like to volunteer to help, please reach out to Antonino so he can connect us with you, and we can work together on how you can help us validate the translations of the Cdkl5 registry. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you very much for your attention. But we hope that you will see that the Cdkl5 registry supplies a very important critical need to the CDD community. It provides a modern platform for data collection and a unifying structure that helps our community organize in ways that will allow all families to learn about clinical trials as soon as they become available, in ways that then streamline the process for you to be able to participate. And in this way, I think that this really goes a long way towards, as Antonino indicated, actually making our whole community much more clinical trial ready, so that when we do have companies that are ready to move things forward into clinical trials, we as a community, though we are a rare disease, will be organized enough that we'll be able to move forward and take advantage of this and be able to help develop those new therapeutics that are so badly needed by our community. So briefly, thanks to the people on this slide who actually helped in developing the registry, but more importantly, thank you to all the families, and we look forward to having you working with us on the Cdkl5 registry to help bring more benefit to our families. Thanks very much.
Well done. Thank you very much for your very clear presentation. You and the others knows that I'm really a strong supporter for the registry issue. I left the last sentence I said in the Congress that we had in Rome in 2017 is that everybody else is doing their best, like researchers, pharma companies, and families as one duty, the registry, because this is what we can bring to the scientific community to better understand the disease that, as you said, is still young, is still a very young disease, and in another hand, to create this very thick network of information, people, and great, look for a great hope for a cure. So let me clarify some point. Let me do some question in order to clarify some point.
Sure.
So as the reality nowadays is that the Helen Leonard database and the Cdkl5 Insieme Verso la Cura Clinical Registry are operative with families and information already kept in proper database. So does this mean that we can't move to Cdkl5 registry?
No, there's no problem at all. In fact, we actively encourage people to participate in all of those other studies. What we've done, Antonino, is that we've designed the Cdkl5 registry so that there's no duplication in the information that's being collected, whether it's with the Cdkl5 Insieme Verso la Cura or whether it's with Helen Leonard's Cdkl5 database. They're built in a way that they will be complementary. For instance, with the Insieme Verso la Cura's clinical data, the clinical data will be aligned directly with the patient data collected by the moms and dads. Likewise, with Helen Leonard and her group, the questions that she'll be asking will be complementary to the questions that we ask. And then, as we said, if families agree, their data from the Cdkl5 registry can be linked up with Helen's database so that in each case, you're making something that's much, much stronger than any one of those alone. And so we actively encourage families, if they're already involved in the effort that the Insieme Verso la Cura has put together, or if they're actively involved in the work that Helen's been doing, we encourage you to remain active in that. But that by joining Cdkl5 registry, that actually gives you a much, much stronger collection of data from different areas that complement themselves very well. And we've gone out of our way to make sure that we're not asking the same questions twice, so that families don't feel that there's an undue burden of being involved in several different of these activities at the same time.
Okay. Another question is about why is an international effort important to the success of the Cdkl5 registry?
Oh, absolutely. And you know very well, Antonino, that CDKL5 deficiency disorder is not any one disorder of any one region or country in the world. We know that wherever you find people, you're going to find CDD. And because it's a relatively rare disorder, there may be some challenges in finding patients. It's not such a large disorder like Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's. Therefore, we really need to take advantage of the international community to get those groups organized as well, getting them engaged in the registry, allowing them to enroll, allowing them to be involved in clinical trials where possible, so that we really fully recognize that Cdkl5 registry has to be a truly international registry. That's the reason why the translation into the multiple languages is so critical for us, so important for us, because we know that organizing the patient community internationally is a major focus for what we have to do in the future.
Good. Can you please explain me a little bit more about the how family will learn about the potential opportunity to participate in clinical studies like drug trials?
Sure, exactly. This is, I think, something that's going to be very important to families. And as I showed you, we have what we call a dashboard. When families log in, you can actually then see any messages, or the dashboard will also be where you can actually view your child's data. Through that dashboard, you will get a notification of any new clinical trials or clinical studies that are being initiated that you might want to learn about. You will also receive an email through the automatic email generating system within the Cdkl5 registry. And I just want to emphasize that you're not obliged to join any clinical trial. There's no requirement, if you're within the Cdkl5 registry, that you must be enrolled also in any clinical studies, whether they be gene therapy or observational studies or anything. It's completely up to you. It's your choice if you want to participate. But we'll use both the dashboard of the Cdkl5 registry as well as email to make sure that any new opportunities become known to you. And then you, as a mom or dad or as a loved one, can make the decision of whether or not you think that that's the right trial for you to be involved in.
Yes, thank you. That's pretty clear now for me. And one last question is about privacy and data privacy are a key issue nowadays all around our everyday life. So there may be some question about the possibility that patient data may be sold to some interested third party.
Exactly. And that's something I want to be clear about from the start. The Cdkl5 registry was not built with the business model of selling patient data to interested pharma companies. We think that there's a lot of reasons that that's not helpful for the community. First and foremost, because if you do sell data to any particular company, that company may actually lock up those data and not share with anyone else, making it much harder for the community to move forward. As such, the Cdkl5 registry has been built so that any qualified researcher, whether they be an academic or whether they be from industry, will be able to have access to the data. Importantly, only after the data, any personal information that might be included in the data are taken out of it. It's what we call de-identified data. Those de-identified data will then be made available to all academic and industry researchers so that they can then use those data to help us design better therapeutics, better clinical trials. The model under which Cdkl5 registry was built was so that we wouldn't have to try to sell the data to any one company, because we think in the end that hurts the ability of the whole community to move forward in a way that will only lead to less development of therapeutics for our kids.
Okay, that's clear, because this issue is a critical issue at the moment for so many social media and other stuff. So I think it's clear enough and reassuring all families that everything will be managed on the best way.
Exactly. And just to say again, Antonino, if there are any questions about any of these subjects relating to registry, please feel free to reach out to me. there's that contact button on the cdkl5 registry.org that will allow you to contact me directly. And then I'm happy to answer any questions along those lines if it hasn't been clear enough here already.
I would like to say also that myself, I'm always available anytime. You can reach me through each responsible of a National Family Association. I'm in touch with all of them, and also the other organizations that participate at the Alliance level. So if you need anything, or you may want to pose a question, I'm also available. Thank you very much for your time today, and let's fight for a good registry. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonino.